Hello, good evening. Today we are going to talk about options, rather demystify the esoteric world of options. So, I'm doing trading for quite some time now, but I have no problem in admitting that I never understood the options very well. And I never trade options until very recently. So, I was talking with one of my financial gurus about that I don't know much about options. Can you please teach me? He said, hey, why not? I'll teach you. And then he taught me the options with such a clarity. I got very excited. And so he did that over the weekend. And for next couple of days, I did so much. I did sell so many options. I killed so many options. um, and I'm so excited. So I thought, while this excitement is there, and before it just becomes another mundane thing, I thought I should just record a session and hope that will be helpful for other peoples out there. So here I am. So what we are going to talk. So the slide got rearranged. Looks like. So let me just put it in the proper position. Okay. So here we are talking about how to make more money, right? So in general, I'm a bit philosophical, but here this time we're going to talk about a very materialistic thing, money. And our main goal is to make more money. Now, how you can make more money? There are a couple of ways. First, obviously, money brings more money. The second thing, assets. So if you have some asset like stock or other kind of assets like house, you can use those assets to make more money. You can use your time to make more money. And last but not least is knowledge. You can use your knowledge to make more money. Now, among us, some humans, I mean, we have like, there are a lot of different set of peoples. So not all of these four qualities are there in all of us. So some may have like more of assets, some may have like more of knowledge. Now, is there any way so that we can like, leverage the best of each of us and do better? So I think option basically opens that option of like leveraging each other's positives. So yeah, so let's see. So before delving into the options, I would like to talk a little bit about different terms that we are going to use. Don't worry if you don't understand, that's fine. As we delve more, those terms will be more clear. But I will go through them anyway. So first, put. So now put into your head, put, put means sell, put. So it is an intent to sell. Then call means buy. You are calling, intent to buy. Now, just make sure you get these two words. Put means intent to sell, call means intent to buy. Just one moment, let me make sure the recording is going. Yeah, looks like the recording is going on. Okay, next, contract. So you can think about the contract that you have for your insurance, for your car insurance. There is a contract. So the contract of insurance of the intent, right? And when there is a contract, then there will be a seller side of the contract who is going to sell the contract. Those guys are more like the insurer, the insurance company. And then there the other side of the contract, who are the buyer of the contract, is more like the insured or the customers, right? And then there is this contract premium that the contract buyer pays to the contract seller. And then there is this contract expiration date. You can think about like when you have a car insurance, there you buy the insurance for like say 1 year or 6 months like that. So that is the expiration. So that is the expiration date from now. So until next 1 year. So that is the contract expiration date. And then there are a couple of actions. You don't need to understand all these actions right away. So as we move forward, you will understand them. But yes, so I have just listed all the actions that seller can do, the contract seller can do, and all the actions that contract buyer can perform. So now this is very important slide. So this this is the point of confusion. So this single confusion is actually like the main hindrance for me to understand the options better. So there is this thing. So there is a contract, and then there is this contract seller and contract buyer. Now the contract is happening on an underlying asset. So there will be the asset seller and asset buyer. So these two set of seller and buyers are different, right? Now, depending on the contract seller can be the asset seller or asset buyer, or again, depending on the contract buyer can be the asset seller or asset buyer. So as we look into the contract more deeper, we'll understand it. But make sure don't confuse between these two set of seller and buyer. Depending on the context, we need to understand that seller means the contract seller, or seller means the asset seller. Buyer means the contract buyer, or buyer means the asset buyer. Okay. Now, as I have just mentioned, like there are two kinds of contract. So there is this contract, and mainly there are two kind of contracts: call contract and put contract. I will go in detail with the call contract. If you understand the call contract, put contract is similar. Now, what is call? Call means call. Call means intent to buy. So the call contract essentially has three lines. The first line, the buyer, the insured of this contract may buy some XYZ asset at some agreed strike price from the seller. Seller is the insurer here of this contract, seller of this contract, by the expiration date, so and so. There's the first line. The second line is saying the insurer, the seller of the contract, will be obliged to sell XYZ asset at the agreed upon strike price if the insured wants so by the expiration date. Just one moment. I need to go to this tab and I have to say stay in the call. Okay. And the third line, and for this, and for that, the insured is paying some amount of premium to the insurer. Make sure you understand these three lines. These are very simple, three simple lines, right? So this is essentially saying some event that will happen in future, some buy event, and the contract, whoever is buying this contract, that guy may buy some asset at certain agreed upon price from the seller of the contract in some point of time in future. And for this agreed upon time that that guy is getting, and whatever the price, accordingly, the premium is basically determined, and the contract buyer is paying the premium to the contract seller. Make sure you get this three thing. Think a little bit. Probably you can pause here a bit and just think in your head a little bit. Okay. Now let me get back to this previous slide. Now the actions. So you understand the contract. Now again, think about the call contract in your head. Now how this whole workflow works. So from the contract seller's perspective, he basically choose the option, choose the action. So if you go to your favorite broker's webpage, you and then you select trading options, you will see this bunch of actions. The first action you take as a seller, sell to open. Sell to open means you are selling a contract. You are selling a contract to open a contract, right? You are selling a contract and you're opening a contract, right? That means the same thing. Now, once you sold that contract is open and somebody is going to buy that. Now, once that particular event is done, there are three options that can happen for you. So first, you do nothing and the contract get expired after the expiration date. Fine. And you just keep the premium that you got, as you sold the contract, you got some premium. You just keep that premium with you. And the other thing you can do, you see at some future point of time, the price of the contract went down. Say you sold the contract at $10, and now at some point of time in future, the price of the contract is $5. Then what you can do, you can essentially buy that contract, buy the similar contract at $5 and give that contract back to the original buyer. and you can keep this delta, right? The $10 minus $5 to you, and you are out of the contract. You understand? So you make some profit here. And the other thing that can happen, the buyer executed the contract, and then you have to act as per the contract. Now, from the contract buyer side, they do similar stuff. They buy a contract to open. So basically, they buy to open. So they buy to open a contract. And then three things can happen. So the first thing, if subsequently they see that the contract price for the similar stuff is up, they can probably sell the contract to somebody else, or they can do nothing. In that case, the contract will be expired and he will lose the premium that he paid. But obviously, in the first case, if he sell to close, he will get the delta and he can keep that delta in his pocket. And in the fourth option is basically the third case. What will happen if everything is favorable? The market is favorable. Probably he can execute the contract and derive the benefit of the contract. Now let's see how these two parties, sellers and buyer of the contract, makes money. So how seller of the contract makes money? So the best thing, the contract expired and seller keeps the premium. That is the best possible thing for the contract seller. The other thing that can happen, if the seller sees that the similar contract is now getting sold in lesser price, he can probably buy similar contract from another seller um, at that lower price and give it back to the original insured. So he's out of the contract now. So he's done, and he can keep that delta with him, right? And the other case, the buyer executes the contract. In that case, seller has to honor the terms of the contract. Now, in case of call means, call means the seller wants to buy. The seller wants to buy. Now, the buyer of this contract has to sell the asset. In this case, let's assume the stock at the price that we decided in the contract. But seller can still make money if his original asset cost basis is less than the contract strike price. And most probably that will be the case, because when seller created the contract, he knew all the details, like what asset he had at that point of time and what the contract price, the strike price he is contracting. So he knows that. So anyway, he will make some money. And in case of put, obviously, the seller has to buy the asset at the contracted higher than the market price, then hold. And so because like in this case, like it is a put option. So whoever has bought this contract, they would like to dispose, they would like to get rid of the shares they have. And the seller has no other option than buying those assets at most probably the higher than the market price of that asset. And then what he can do, essentially, he can hold and keep. If this asset is a good asset, the price will go anyway up in future, and then he can sell and he can make money, right? So this is the way how seller can make money out of the contract. And for the buyer, let's see how buyer can make money. So the best, again, if market conditions are favorable, they just execute the contract anytime before the expiration date and makes money. Now again, for um, call contract means call, you want to buy. So he gets the asset for the contracted lower than the market value from the insurer, and he can sell immediately and keep the profit, right? So let's assume the contract says he can buy at $100, but the then market value is $200. He just immediately buy at $100 and sell at $200. The net $100 per asset will be in his pocket. So he can make a money quickly, right? And on the other hand, on the put case, he's basically buy the asset. So what he can essentially do, so there is an agreed upon price, but the market value for that thing hopefully is less than the agreed upon price. So he can buy that asset from the market theoretically and sell it back to the original seller of the contract. And then obviously the seller now has to buy that in that higher determined price. And whatever the delta is there, again, this buyer of the contract can keep, right? So this is a profit for him. Now, this is called, then the other option is, as we discussed, the sell to close. Sell to close means he can sell the contract to another buyer, hopefully at higher price and make some money. Otherwise, if situation is not favorable, he can do nothing. The contract expires and buyer just loses the premium. Okay, I think that's all. And now, I mean, with this idea of the insurance, the insurance company and the customers and this insurance contract, just keeping in, I think a little bit in your head, I think you will get it. And here I will end this discussion with some general observations. So, who are the seller of the contract? So, normally people who has assets like stocks and cash that are like sitting in their account. So, they are looking for more stable, calculated income, low risk, but they have like high tolerance. For example, in the put case, if the current stock price is like much less than the contracted price, in that case, probably he has to buy that stock like in that at the higher price, but the current price is less, then he has to hold that stock for certain amount of time till the market kind of like gets back, and then he can sell and make a profit. And also ideally they should have like the reserve for some cash reserve for put and shares backing up the calls, right? There are other risky options that seller can use, like example like put using margin, but it is essentially you're taking a loan from the bank, or you can do call naked call. In that case, if the call gets executed, any other security you may have in your account will be sold to cover, or they will you need to take a loan from the bank so that you can, I mean, whoever your the financial institution, the broker, they can buy the stocks on your behalf and give it to the buyer of the contract. And who are the buyer of the contract? Normally, people with less assets, but they have knowledge, right? So they can leverage that knowledge and can buy the contracts. Essentially, they pay the small amount of premium, potentially very high gain. So they're kind of buying lottery for possibly a much larger gain. So I hope, thank you very much for your time, and I hope this actually kind of like helped you to understand the options better. But the best way to understand, to learn option, is just go to your account, enable options, and play small. And I'm pretty sure soon you will be contract professional contract killer. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.